So yeah, let's start. Let's start. DePIN, very interesting topic, and we have beautiful guests today. Hey, Brian, you also joined last minutes.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
So good to have you here as well. So we start with the simple things as usual. So I introduce myself. My name is Vadim. I'm a founder of Cryptomeria Capital. We are VC, early stage VC. And at the same time, around it, we do have our media company, media group, includes Hack Seasons Conference, including Metaverse Post as the news publisher, and Popcorn Today is a very interesting news channel in Telegram with more than 5 million subscribers. So we are happy to be here. 你好,大家, for my Chinese friends here. So yeah, and we start with very simple things. Here we start with introduction, self-introduction, just a couple words about you guys, some highlights. So let's start with this. Okay, Brian, we start with you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brian. I'm from the DePIN DAO. DePIN DAO is a decentralized organization that powers that DePIN ecosystem, integrate Web3 service, and drives global growth. Thank you.
Hey everyone, my name is Neil. I'm the CEO of Dawn. We're building a protocol for providing decentralized broadband. So everyone's probably familiar with Helium. They're doing decentralized mobile service. We are doing decentralized home and business internet.
Hi everyone, this is Zoey, head of community at GEODNET. GEODNET is the world's largest decentralized RTT network for precise navigation. We provide centimeter-level precision for robots, AI agents, autonomous systems to navigate the world precisely and reliably. We have a global miner of satellite miners who operate our stations, contribute data, and earn our token. Our friend Noah has just provided a very good presentation about the next generation GPS. So we are the next generation GPS RTK. Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Dirk. I'm from Kudis. I'm the co-founder of Kudis. So Kudis is the leading crypto consumer wearable launched on Solana. Essentially, we're trying to decentralize the wellness data layer, where we're giving back users their data and not only the ownership, but also the monetization potential of their wellness data.
So thank you so much for self-introduction. And let's talk about the first thing. DePIN has been a while in the space, and physical infrastructure is something which is really like some of it you can touch, right? It's not like something in the air. So it's definitely interesting. It's been here, and we have beautiful presentations here before our panels, which is also showing the huge potential for all of this. But I'm 100% sure that with your business, with what you do in DePIN, you've met a lot of challenges. So let's talk about these, what kind of challenges you meet, and what kind of like a problem you try to solve to scale your business to succeed in what are you guys doing. And yeah, so let's go one by one. Again, start from Brian.
I think scalability is the biggest challenges about our DePIN, because the traditional system expand easily, but the DePIN spreads the data across location, making management is hard. Also, it's the only way to prevent hackers and data losses. So I think that also the security matters too, with the data anywhere, strong impression, seamless connection is a key about the DePIN. Thank you.
Yeah, I think most DePINs kind of have to have this balance between token incentives for actually getting like operators and folks tapped into it, but then managing kind of where the demand side really comes from. I think kind of on our network, I feel a little bit lucky because we're selling people essentially home internet, right? Everybody has a home internet. So on the demand side and the supply side, there's actually a good level of overlap. But as you kind of look at some other projects, you're really incentivizing retail to just be kind of like an operator. And then you have to go to like bigger enterprises and convince them to buy and get adopted on your system. And I think that kind of disparity between who your user base is kind of is a level of friction point that DePIN will have to eventually overcome. So I think by being able to focus essentially on making sure that retail can both participate on the demand and the supply side is probably going to be one of the very important hacks that DePIN projects are going to need to be able to get to a bigger level of success.
Well, for GeoDNet, we have very strong supply and demand side. So we are now the largest RTK network in the world, and we have customers in agriculture, drone, and even DePIN project use our precise navigation data for 3D mapping. And we're also exploring Web3 gaming based on precise location with Animoca brands. I'd say our demand side is strong. But for us, to grow as we expand and grow our network, we face two folds of challenges. The first one is knowledge barrier. So not everyone understands blockchain, let alone DePIN or NFT. So these concepts we need to really communicate with the mass population with simple language. So we're working on many educational content on it. Another layer of challenge is really the existing Web2 infrastructure. So the infrastructure in some regions like South Africa, South America and Africa is just not ready because our network requires internet connectivity and power supply. And in those areas, it just does not have that capability to deliver the data quality that we desire. Yeah, that's why this year really put a lot of focus on setting industry standards on RTK networks and reliability and quality by working closely with our community members. Yeah.
Well, I would say for DePIN projects, it's a lot different from other crypto projects. Well, it's heavy investment initially. So the first challenge, of course, everybody's going to face is that the funding, right? If you're dealing with hardware, if you're dealing with manufacture, if you're dealing with infrastructure, you got to have money. So that would be like the first challenge is to convince investors in terms of fundraising. And the second thing is that if you're doing with hardwares, in our case, it's like we're dealing with consumers, right? So you got to have customer support. You got to have logistics. These are never handled by any crypto projects. So it's so as crypto founders, it's kind of new to us to actually trying to address the needs of different clients, different consumers. And then another thing that comes with the heavy investment side is that it's a little bit harder for DePIN project to follow the trend, to follow new narratives. You just gotta stick with what you do initially, right? Whenever so this year, like initially, the beginning of 2024, there's this huge DePIN wave, but then towards the end, it's more like AI, DeSci. But again, not every project can actually follow that narrative. You just gotta stick with what you do. So here are some of the things, that we face in the past.
Right. I think, challenges with the narratives is all we got here. Not only DePIN projects because of meme coins and everything which is happening. Because you mentioned only fundamental projects like a DeSci or something. But we do have a lot of speculation on the market and narratives are changing sometimes I feel it like every day, not even like every half year or every month. But yeah, of course, I mean, DePIN, you guys, I think Dirk especially mentioned a very important thing that it's a heavy funded project. You need to prepare first, prepare the technology, convince a lot of people around, to move forward. But at the same time, it's kind of crucial for, long-term, vision and long-term products that you guys building. So my next question will be about the decentralized storage. So I've seen a lot of statistics that decentralized storage is actually much more effective and cheaper if you compare with the traditional, we say like a Web2 centralized storages like Google Clouds or AWS, whatever. Not all of them, of course, but some of them really cheaper, and I think it's even safer, right? Because basically because centralized company has access to every single file that you store there. So how decentralized storage helps in your business, guys? So is it really help to increase the efficiency or somehow helping your business? So yeah, let's start. You want to start first? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in our scenario, we are building a very large-scale wireless network, and so you have just a crap ton of telemetry that you need to kind of process and put that into a time series format. And so I think, we are building on the Solana ecosystem, and there is no kind of, de facto way to do storage on Solana. So we've been excited to work with kind of Filecoin and those types of solutions. I think if you want to scale, you definitely need a decentralized storage layer for this. The challenge is that there's not really kind of like a good way to actually do this at the protocol level, right? If you're trying to feed in your protocol's way of capturing storage in a non-centralized fashion, you're kind of in an uncharted territory, right? I mean, in our scenario, you can imagine every single node has to generate, spectrum information, timing information. Like, there's just a lot of crap that has to get stored into it. And then how that can actually be rendered and be made useful for the underlying project is like a big area of open kind of research, I think. Like, these sort of complex, decentralized data pipelines. But I think the benefit is actually very much so worth it, because I think we're going to see kind of more hyper-converged infrastructure where like everybody's devices, like it doesn't matter whether it's GeoDNet or DAWN or whatever that is going to have like maybe a couple gigs, maybe even a terabyte of storage that can actually be used for this. So a lot of the costs are going to be amortized by the core protocol, but then you're going to have this extra latent resource that you can use on a broader scheme. And there is no kind of like standardized way about going about doing this. So I think we're kind of in uncharted waters for something that is very much so needed in an industry like DePIN, which is going to be very reliant on data and telemetry to make sure you can reconfigure whatever the state is of your network to better serve your users.
Interesting. Okay, so Zoe, what do you think about that?
I'll speak of real-time data processing capability, because if we want to, for GeoDNet, we provide three-dimensional geospatial data for robots, autonomous systems to navigate the world. And if you want to know where you are, you want to know it immediately. So having a decentralized data storage solution really helps. Helps us to address data latency. So RTK delivers the centimeter accurate positioning data within 1 to 2 seconds. And because of that decentralized storage in local clusters, we are able to provide that fast speed data processing and deliver that accuracy to our end customers.
Right, so still war for the latency is very important.
Like latency, retrieval times, I mean, everything Zoe said I think is very on point here. And I think the kind of interesting challenge that we have to face in DePIN is like Web 2 is just way further ahead in terms of how they actually deal with all of the data pipelines for storage. Like if you spend any time in DevOps and you look at like HashiCorp's types of solutions, and you look at everything from like Prometheus and Thanos, Grafana, you have all of these kind of massive data pipelines that are used for extracting information and loading it. Like it doesn't matter whether it's real-time information. And I think DePIN just doesn't have that part figured out yet.
Right. Dirk, Brian, do you have anything to add here?
The other guys say something is more. I think one sentence. I just decentralize the storage, make our life more safer and cheaper and more independent about the traditional ecosystem. Yeah.
So in our case, if you really want the users to own and potentially monetize their data, it got to come with decentralized storage, right? Because otherwise, the data is stored in a centralized server. They actually don't own it. It's the Web 2 model. But again, there comes a lot of complications where if you are allowing different people to sync up data from different sources, then you gotta introduce another layer of data cleaning, data custody, in order for that data to be valuable to the ecosystem. So again, that's something we've been working on right now, and yeah.
Right. So my next question is very logic here. What role does geospatial and real-time data plays in DePIN evolution? So how do you think like in that way? So is it really crucial, or?
I mean, I can take, on my side, obviously GeoDNet has a lot to be able to say about this, but, in our scenario, when we are trying to essentially bring all wireless communication on-chain, an important part of wireless is knowing where the actual access point is or the node that you're connecting to. So I'd say it's absolutely crucial. And in our scenario in Dawn, when we incentivize people to deploy nodes, the protocol rewards you proportional to how many households you're actually providing coverage to. And so the only way to really be able to know where to tap into and then how to emit rewards proportional to the value of the supply you're bringing on chain ultimately comes down to location. And so that's why I'd say, protocols like GEODNET are going to be absolutely integral for all DePIN going forward. And I know it's absolutely integral for us at Dawn.
Yeah, could you repeat your question, please?
The question, real-time data, geospatial, how does things really help to evolve the DePIN?
Sure.
How important it is?
Yeah. So personally, I really see a future where the decentralized physical infrastructure power everything in the world, including AI agents, robots, and devices, applications. So for those applications, those sensors to communicate and interact with each other, with the physical world, they are going to need a geospatial context. GeoDNET provide that geospatial context with our 3D geodimensional data. So that data will provide centimeter level accuracy, and it will provide those applications with deep geosituational awareness, so they know where they are from X, Y, Z, three-dimensional perspectives. In addition to that, I think the centimeter accurate positioning network will enable those agents, devices, to make precise decision in the physical environment where they behave or interact with each other. So this level of accuracy will going to help those applications to build maps like their memories, so they know where and how to execute their tasks. They can make smart and precise decision making. Yeah, I think that's the two most important perspectives from our side.
Right.
Yeah, I think it totally comes down to your business model, right? If you're doing what like GeoDNET does, or if you're doing something like Hive Mappers does, you're trying to map the world, then maybe real-time data is important. But if you also like for something like SkyX, for example, if you're mapping the global weather, then it might be important. But in other cases, for example, in our cases, it's more towards data contribution to general studies, that powers up studies agents. Then I don't think real data is that important.
Now we can think about how exactly, or you guys please emphasize about it, how these main components of your project, like blockchain and data storage and data, how it interact within your product, and what's the main component, and how it works.
I mean, I can take this one. I mean, and this is, I kind of pitch this all the time. So the way that I think about it is we use kind of Solana as like a data consensus layer. So that's kind of the first piece where you need to agree on what is the physical state of the network, or what ought to be the state of the network. After, on top of that, we essentially have a proof layer. And that proof layer is one that actually validates the underlying parameters that are on your network. So in our case, we need to be able to validate the speed that users are getting, the frequency, and then the location of where they are. So kind of bandwidth, frequency, and location are the three major things that we need to prove on top of that based on the layer of what happens on Solana underneath. And then the top layer is actually the intelligence layer. So based on kind of this data pipeline and this telemetry, how do you go about reconfiguring the state of the network in a feedback loop type mechanism to improve that? So say, hey, I can get better latency if my path goes from here to there instead of from there to here. And I think that is kind of like a very prototypical example of how I would architect any kind of DePIN protocol. It's like data consensus, proof, and then reorganization of the underlying topology. And so that kind of is like, I'd say, the core of what our stack is.
Well, I think for most of the DePIN project, especially our project here, we only use blockchain as a tool that well, number one, again, it's a decentralized storage. Number two is incentivizing community, right? Well, so for us, because we do have hardwares, we do have softwares, we do have this data engine where we're asking people to to integrate their wellness data into the system. The only way, again, I've been repeating myself, the only way we're able to incentivize people and have them own their data and provide a way for them to monetize from their data every time the data is used would be through blockchain. And it's transparent, it's immediate, but that's the only way that it happens. And also, if you're trying to share this data with third parties, right? If, for example, once we accrue these very, very valuable wellness data from our clients, from the ring users, other wearable users, then if we want to share this with third-party institutions like research companies, medical companies, then the best way would still be through blockchain and not from your server. Otherwise, it's not that transparent on how those data are used.
Right, like using fully homomorphic encryption or zero knowledge proofs to share this information is definitely crucial. Brian, what do you think about that?
How to say? Just I think the infrastructure and the blockchain networks, and I think they work together to store the process and secure data is very important. And blockchain is slow, and the system must connect and running them, so can cost money. Yeah. Thank you.
I'd like to expand my response to the broader DePIN ecosystem. So to build on my response to the last question, I think the DePIN networks, different protocols are providing or building an infrastructure for many things to work together. And from consumer or product perspective, how do we wrap those different protocols and layers together and present a very beautiful product to end consumers? And that's the question, I think. So, for example, the hailing Wi-Fi, GEODNET's high precision navigation data, have mappers map and 3D data and other DePIN networks solutions. How do we wrap those things together and present a product for consumers who don't know anything about blockchain, about DePIN, and they can use those products intuitively without or with minimum friction barriers? That requires a lot of efforts in terms of interoperability, UI, UX design, and also unified data collection standards and standards programming language. Personally, I haven't seen such an MVP product in the DePIN system, but at GeoDNet, we're really focused on making super consumer-friendly AI robots that is going to be powered by DePIN networks. And we're very open to collaborate with the other DePIN projects, the wider Web3 ecosystem partners to explore those standards and set up the standards for a better infrastructure network for the future.
Yeah, and what Zoey said, remind me, I forgot to mention. I think what she said about kind of like the UX layer is obviously super important. And so I think any kind of crypto project, and I kind of point to DePIN in particular here, that has the ability to appeal to larger audiences, everything really comes down to the SDK that you're using to actually present the front end information. So like we have used both magic.link and Privy, and I think like those two projects are going to be some of the most important projects in crypto and DePIN, just because they kind of define the standards for how consumers interact with everything token and non-token related, and everything that kind of built around that.
Right, it's very interesting take about the user experience because I think that's a backbone problem for majority of the crypto projects. And what it starts with connect your wallet usually really meet a lot of problems with onboarding users, especially when you have very kind of geek kind of style, design. So people simply don't understand how to use your product. It should really look like your bank application and all the technology and all these like buzzwords, which is cool for DePIN conferences like this, but should be under the hood in your real product. So my last question, because I've been informed that we have just a few minutes left. So let's think about the future. Obviously, I mean, what's next? 3-5 years. Now I hope we're in the middle of the bull cycle, right? So we have something to do within this year, but after that, I believe we do have a lot of like time to build, onboard users, bring more interesting features to your products. And what's next? I mean, how far we are from the whole, let's say, decentralized world, Internet of Things, how it was called like, time ago and stuff like that. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I could take that one because I think if there's any one thing whenever I go to these conferences, I try to encourage folks like you guys, if you're curious about this stuff, is think to yourself, like, what is the DePIN end state? If I could kind of just snap my fingers and make DePIN a reality for every household and business all across the world, what would that look like? And I kind of have my own biased vision of how I approach that, but I think it's an important one that everybody in the industry needs to really consider. And so the way that I tackle that is I have this kind of fundamental belief that within a couple years even, every household is going to kind of have like a little black box in their home that just does all DePIN for them, right? You're going to have a toaster, a microwave, and a box that is doing, IONET, Akash, Dawn, Helium, Filecoin, all of that kind of stuff. And the way that we aim to tackle that very soon, we haven't announced it yet, but we're essentially going to be able to tackle that through the router side of stuff. So I want to be able to kind of paint this vision of like, hey, this idea of like your dumb router/modem from your cable provider is the day of the past. What if we could transform that into kind of this one crypto black box that does it all? And so I think that kind of clarity of vision has been super helpful as I think about how to evolve this protocol and bring this product to market.
Cool.
Totally agree with Neil. For us, I think the container might be different. We want to build robots that's going to be powered by all the DePIN network, like internet and positioning, 3D data, and that all. Personally, I am really excited about the development and combination between AI and different DePIN networks. If we can use Helium's Wi-Fi and whatever other project can provide, and AI to process that data and predict data and use that kind of data insight to enable our ESG industries, because we humankind and next few generations are facing serious problems. And with that AI-driven, DePIN-powered infrastructure, we're able to advise our resource use and reduce waste like water, electricity, land. I really hope that we can come up more solutions that is going to benefit the ESG industry to promote sustainability and see the potential that DePIN and AI can provide.
Right. Maybe you go first.
In DePIN DAO, in the 3 or 5 years, the the DePIN will grow fast with AI and RWA and decentralized computing. So more industries will enjoy ourselves. Yeah, that's my.
I think it's definitely mass adoption, right? DePIN is still the best way to onboard people. Like, people don't need to know anything about crypto just to use a DePIN project as a product. So I'm thinking like I'm thinking in the future we'll be able to see a lot of products that DePIN product that are like that are into the mainstream, and a lot of people don't even know they're backed by crypto. The crypto part has been or the crypto functions has been fading to the backside. Like people just enjoy more about its functions. So that's why also I think I totally agree on Neil and Zoey when they said that the product is actually so important in the DePIN space. The user experience is very important because as you are onboarding non-crypto people, that's all they care about.
Right. Okay, guys. So we are wrapping up, and just the final words that what I have, let's say, learned from this panel. It was very interesting to talk with you guys. Like, you know, I remember the first time in 2017 when I just joined the space, I thought blockchain should be everywhere, and like, well, of course, it was like a mistake. The same, like, you know, when we're talking about DePIN, it probably looked like the decentralized physical infrastructure should be everywhere, but of course not. And maybe we need to find the best business models. We need to find the best solutions, the faster the user really can be onboarded easier. And then I definitely wish you luck and success with your products, with your projects, your companies. And thank you so much for having us today. It was a real pleasure, and thank you so much.